Marie broke up with her boyfriend, Jason, a month ago and has been single since. She misses the company, going out, having a coffee or having a meal. She found it hard to meet people, and her friends were praising the dating app Tinder. Some even said they met amazing people through the app. Her best friend Sarah is with her boyfriend of 6 months, and they met on Tinder, so she decided to give it a go. She set up a date through Tinder in a local bar where they had a few drinks. Her date was a man in his early 20s called Sam. He had a really good job and she found him dreamy looking, and he seemed to tick all the boxes for her type of guy. There was a guy playing pool next to them, and Marie found it strange what happened. The guy accidentally hit Sam. He turned around to apologize and said, "Oh, sorry, buddy." Sam didn't answer, just gave him a cold, nasty look. Marie found it very, very strange indeed, but overlooked it. After the drinks, Sam asked Marie would she like a drive home, and she knew he only drank coffee in the bar, so there was no reason to refuse. Plus, it was a half-hour walk to her house and she felt very tired. She said that would be great, and they both walked out into Sam's car. When they arrived at Marie's house, they walked up to her door and Marie said, "Thanks." Sam was hoping she'd ask him in, and he felt relief when she said, "Would you like to come in for another coffee?" "Sure," he said. When Marie shut the door, she turned to kiss Sam, and all of a sudden, a man bolted for Sam, knocking him to the ground. Marie screamed in terror, and then realized the man who knocked Sam to the ground was her ex-boyfriend Jason. She knew he was the jealous type, but never expected him to attack the next guy she met. She shouted at him to stop. Jason suddenly grabbed a gun out of his pocket and shot Sam in the shoulder. Sam fell, holding his shoulder, crying in pain. Marie was trembling in fear with her crazy ex-boyfriend in front of her, holding a gun. He said, "Don't move." Suddenly, Sam pointed a gun right at Jason and shot him in the head. Marie cried hysterically, knowing her ex-boyfriend was just killed before her eyes, but knew if it wasn't him, he would have shot her. Jason looked up at her and said, "Don't worry, it was self-defense." Then she heard movement behind her and turned around to see a large man staring straight at her. It suddenly hit her that her boyfriend wasn't telling her not to move, but he was telling the man behind her not to move to save her. Fear and dread rushed through her, knowing she was alone with two men who would no doubt kill her. Suddenly the door burst open, knocking the guy in front of Marie, and Sam lifted the gun, shouting, "Get back or I'll shoot." It was the man from the bar playing pool. He ducked and rammed right into Sam, then lifted his fist and punched him so hard he knocked him out. He then grabbed the gun, pointing it at the other man, and shouted, "You move one muscle and I'll shoot your head off." Marie had already rang the police. The man introduced himself to Marie after the police arrived and told her, after explaining to the police, he knew there was something off about the guy and knew something was up. When he left a note on the table, he walked over and gave a glance just before a man could pick it up, and it had written on it, "Follow us, I'm going to her house." So he followed them to see what was going on. Marie was thanking her lucky stars, how lucky she was that the man whose name was Tom was observant enough to spot something very sinister was going on. She worried what could have happened to her if he didn't save her, and she promised herself she'd never ever date anyone through Tinder or anyone online again. I was home alone watching a horror, and I felt tense as I hated being home alone. So the suspense of the movie added to my anxiety. I don't know why I'm such a crybaby. Maybe I should just not watch scary movies. I got a notification from my phone. It was a Snapchat notification. It was a message. It read, "Check my story." I wondered, who would it be from? As there was no photo on the profile, just black, I scrolled down my Snapchat contacts and viewed their story. I looked closer, squinting my eyes, as it was very dark. I could make out it was some sort of room. I jumped with fright when I realized it was my front door and the story was taken inside my hall. I looked up from the couch where I was sitting into the hall but could not see anything. I realized the story wouldn't have been live, of course. Maybe it was my boyfriend Jake playing some stupid prank on me, but I still felt dread overcome me and was paralyzed with fear. Whoever this is could still be in my house. I got another notification and almost turned my phone off, but knew that wouldn't change anything if someone was actually in my house. I pressed the button and viewed the snap. This time it was a video. I could see the back of my head and my phone in my hand. Whoever was filming this snap was just behind me and is just behind me now. My heart jumped in my chest and I felt like screaming but couldn't as I was frozen with fear. I suddenly felt a hand touch my shoulder and jumped and screamed. A man walked around with a mask, then took the mask off and he stared right at me. Let me introduce myself. You can call me, Jake. You don't know me, as you were too busy stealing my phone the other day. I followed you home, and that's how I know where you live. I was going to call the police, but decided there would be something more creative I could do. I shouted, "Please, please, I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't steal any phone." The man pulled out a phone. "Oh, but you see, you did. I have it all here on camera." Luckily, my good old observant friend caught the whole thing while pretending to be busy texting. He showed me the camera and I felt disgust watching my twin sister kissing my boyfriend. I looked up in fear, hoping he would believe me. That is not me. That is my twin. I looked up in fear, hoping he would believe me. That is not me. That is my twin sister cheating with my goddamn boyfriend. Jake laughed. Do you expect me to believe that? I flicked through my phone and showed him a pic of me and my twin sister Sarah. He looked at it and then back to me. "Well, where is your twin sister then?" I was shaking with fear. "She's at work. She will be home at 12. It was 11:30 now. I said, "That bitch was kissing my boyfriend. I'll lead you right to her if you like." Jake smiled again and said, "Sounds like a plan. But work, wherever that is, well, that's not a place where I can exactly get revenge." I got out my phone and Jake looked at it to see was it his. I knew it wasn't. "I'll call her to come straight home. Let me use my home phone. I have no credit." He nodded. "Go on then, call her now." I picked up the phone and after a few rings she answered. "Please come back home straight after work. I'm in trouble with my project. I need some help. The deadline is tomorrow. It's an emergency." I hung up before any reply. He said to me, "It looks like your twin sister is a thief and someone that stole her own twin sister's boyfriend. Wow, that's bad. This bitch will have what's coming to her." I smiled. "You can say that again? If I knew about her being with my boyfriend, I would have tracked you down myself to you teach her a lesson." At 12:10, my sister pulled up in the driveway in a car and knocked on the door. I opened it and Jake was standing at the side. My sister walked in and a cop came in behind her. Once I saw the cop, I screamed. Please, help, help, he's in my house. I admitted to the cop afterwards. It was me that stole Jake's phone, but had to pretend it was my twin sister. I held the mute button down when I made the call to my sister. I spoke certain words, so instead of her hearing, "I'm in trouble with my project, I need some help, the deadline is tomorrow, it's an emergency," she heard, "I'm in trouble, I need help, it's an emergency." I was happy that it worked, pressing mute with certain words, so that is all she heard. And I will never ever steal anything again.
I was 14 at the time. It was an ordinary day. It was a boring Sunday. I had no schoolwork to do or anything. Man, was I bored. So, I decided to go on Instagram for some entertainment. I was scrolling through some pictures and videos. Then all of a sudden, I get a DM. I say, maybe it's someone I know. I go to the DM to check it out, and it's from an older man who I have never seen before. He must have been in his 50s at least. He said that he was looking for a sugar baby. I just responded and told him to leave me alone and that I wasn't interested. When I think about it, I probably should have just blocked him. But then I told him that he was a creep and that I was only 14 years old. Thinking that was the end of it, he responds back to me saying that age is just a number and that he wants to come see me. I told him no, and for him to leave me alone. And I regret it to this day for saying this. But I told him, you don't even know where I live. Then he responds to me with my address and said he is coming to me now. I'm not gonna lie, that scared me a lot, because that was actually my real address. I was a little freaked out, but I tried ignoring it and just continuing my day like nothing happened. The next day came, and I left for school in the morning. I walked to school. It's about a 15-minute walk. Both my parents couldn't pick me up because they both work in the early morning. As I'm walking to school, I see a car behind me. It felt a little weird, as if it was following me, so I ran down a random street to see if the car was actually still following me. And to my surprise, it was. As I was running down the street, I was out of breath and slowed down. The car pulled up to me, and it was the same man I saw on Instagram. I was in shock, and I didn't know what to do, but froze. The man said, "Come in the car, kid. I have some candy for you." I said no thanks, and to leave me alone. I started walking away. He didn't like that, so he followed me from inside the car, then pulled up in front of me, got out of the car, then grabbed me. I was fighting, but he was too strong. He was pulling me to his car, then another car beeps the horn and says, "I'm calling the police." The man then lets go of me, goes back to his car, and drives away. The person from the other car called my parents, and I took the rest of the day off of school to calm down and relax. Missing school that day was the last thing on my mind. It's now 4 years later, and I haven't ever seen the man. I always thought about what would have happened to me if it wasn't for the other car that day. Would I still be alive? I never walked to school since. All I know is I'm lucky to still be alive, and I take every day as it's my last, because you never know what could happen.